Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be with you. Deanna and I from East Tennessee to the Central Valley of California. What a glorious place this is. We drove up to the Sequoia National Park yesterday to catch the big trees, and we're able to see the bottom 15 feet in the heavy fog. Boy, those trunks are big at the bottom. Then we saw the photographs at the visitor center, so we have an idea what they were like. This is beautiful country. It's good to be here. Join me in prayer, please. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, I had hoped I would come and talk about hope. But people tell me maybe you've been over that. I want to do something here. How many of you recognize this? How many recognize that? Well, for those of you who read The Quarry, you'll recognize that. The Quarry was a book of stories that I was able to collect and put together over a period of time, and it was about hope. And in that book I share with you this image that I was introduced to years and years and years ago in an evangelism task group, if you will. It was in a resource that was given to us. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know where it was published. But this image has stayed with me most of my adult life. And especially when it comes to evangelism, a word that I just can't. I'm called to be constantly about this relationship between God and me, to know God deeper, knowing God. And I'm called to be in relationship with my neighbor. So love God and love your neighbor. You recognize that. And in this idea of personal witnessing, my relationship with God and my relationship with you, where we get into trouble on the buckle of the Bible Belt in East Tennessee, I hear a lot, is when I'm trying to tell you what your relationship with God should be. That gets us in trouble. So I learned a long time ago, if I'm working on this and I'm true to this, God takes care of this. Does that make sense? Don't even have to think about it. Don't worry about it. Holy Spirit takes care of that. Thanks be to God. You're starting on a new journey, being the you God created you to be. And I was asked to focus on that first step of that journey, the you others see. The you others see. I want to begin, as we look into that, I want to begin with this. What is the you that God sees? What's the me that God sees? As a way to begin, I'm going to look at, right in the very first part of the Bible, in the book of Genesis. I'm using the New International Version. It's a little bit different from the version in your pews. It's okay, the message is the same. Let me read a little bit. This is the creation story. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created man in God's own image. In the image of God, He created man, male and female. He created them. And God saw that all He had made, and it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. And God saw all that He had made, and it was very good. God saw all that He had made, and it was very good. What does God see when God sees you? Very good. God's own image. Very good. As we move well past the creation story, centuries and centuries and centuries and thousands of years later, What happens? God comes into our world as Jesus, right? Emmanuel, God with us. And just before Jesus comes into the world, there's this story about a young man who was born to a father and a mother, Zechariah and Elizabeth. John, whom we came to know as John the Baptist. Remember the story of Zechariah, especially? Zechariah was struck mute, and he couldn't speak until John, his son, was born. And when he spoke at John's birth, it was just marvelous. And the Bible, in the book of Luke, records it as what some people refer to as the Canticle of Zechariah. Zechariah lifts up his son John and gives thanks to God, and he says a few things. He's reflecting back on this relationship with God and God's people. And he says, he promised to show mercy. God promised to show mercy to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant. This was the oath he swore to our father Abraham, to set us free from the hands of our enemies, free to worship him without fear, holy and righteous in his sight all the days of our lives. Holy and righteous in his sight all the days of our lives, every moment of every day. God sees that what God made was very good, and God sees you and me every moment of every day of our life as holy and righteous in his sight. How many of you have children or have had children? How many of you once were a child? You know, parents, those of us who have been parents, we get a glimpse of this deep love of God. This love of God that looks at each one of us and sees us as holy and righteous, even when we misstep. Has your child ever misstepped? And yet you hold them in your own mind as holy and righteous, this precious gift, right? That's the way God sees you. God sees me holy and righteous and very good. Sometimes it's helpful to us as we reflect on the you that others see. How does God see me? Now let's look at how others see you, how others see me. Now this is a different story. How do you see me? What do you see? Old. Some white hair. Glasses. If I give you the profile, which I really don't want you to see, which is why I wear these bulky shirts so you can't see it. Who am I kidding? What do you see when you look at another person? What else do you see? You might see the car they drive. You might see the church they go to. What else do you see? Help me out here. A house they live in.
Beautiful wife they have.
The most glorious and beautiful life they have. Oh yeah. And we're always marrying up, aren't we? What else do we see? Experience. Do we see experience? Maybe we see that. The lines of the faces, age, yeah, okay. We might see the status in the community, especially, yes, if you've lived in the community, so you see them, yeah. What do we not see? What do we not see when we look at someone? What do you not see when you look at me? What do we not see?
Your heart, your soul.
Your heart, your soul.
What you're thinking.
Sorry?
What you are thinking.
What you're thinking, thanks be to God. What kinds of physical and psychological pain? We don't see that. There's a lot about us that people don't see. Wouldn't you agree? The you others see. What is the you that others see? There's a difference, it seems to me, between the you others see and the you others others know. That's different. See is right before our eyes, but the you others know. What are some of the things, as you think about some people sitting here, that you know about some people, but you can't tell it by seeing them? What might be some of those things?
Their profession.
You might know their profession, you might know what their day is like. You couldn't tell that by seeing them. You might know what someone thinks of politics, but you wouldn't be able to tell it by seeing them, right? You might know what someone thinks of marijuana, but you wouldn't know that necessarily by seeing them, or other social issues. You have to engage with someone to begin to know them. Is that right? You have to begin to engage. What are the things about you that others don't know? What are the things about us that you wouldn't know? What are the things about me that you wouldn't know? My past? Probably not, unless you've done a Google search. What are my passions? Yeah, that's very good. You wouldn't know that. That doesn't show by looking at someone.
They don't know what I don't want them to know.
Ah, they don't know what I don't want them to know. And that's fair. We all do that. How many of you are familiar with something called the megabus? Do you know what the megabus is? Anybody know the megabus? They must not be big out here. In the eastern United States anyway, if you want to get from A to B, long distance, and travel very inexpensively, you take the megabus. The megabus goes from Atlanta to Knoxville, Tennessee. I live in Knoxville. We have children and grandchildren that live in the Atlanta area, and for reasons of the way our world was going, I wanted to take the megabus from Atlanta back to Knoxville. $8, 4.5-hour bus ride. $8. It's really a cheap way to get around. It's really wonderful. But I waited till the last minute to get my tickets. I had to pay $20, but I got right behind the window of the driver's window, except on the second level, which was really great, except after a while, the young mother in the seat across the aisle had a 3-month-old, and that 3-month-old was fidgety, and she had this teddy bear, and she pushed the button on the teddy bear, and it was, "Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Hush, little baby. Hush, little baby." And by the time we got to halfway along the ride to Chattanooga, the bus was acting up, and we had to pull over and wait for a replacement bus for 4.5 hours. I'm going to confess that I carry, even though I often like to think of it, I carry my own biases and prejudices. I do. On this bus, because it's very, very inexpensive and it gets you from A to B long distances away, tends to be the people that are on the bus are those who would be maybe at the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum, might be students. But for the most part, the people on the bus were low-income people. And in the Atlanta area and in the Knoxville area, people in the low-income areas tend to be Hispanic and African American. And I was one of 4 white people on this 2-tier bus. So we stopped at a lower-end mall next to the bus depot to wait for 4.5 hours for the next bus to come and pick us up. Though the driver didn't know how long it was going to be, that just went on and on. So it was lunchtime. So I went into the food court of this lower-end mall. Here were all these people sitting at tables, and most of the tables were full. Here was a table with an empty chair, and a woman, a black woman, who happened to be probably in her early 40s, maybe. A very big black woman, just big. And in my mind, "Hi, my name's Larry. Is this an empty seat?" "Yes, it is." "Will I join you?" "Sure." I said, "Were you on the megabus?" She said, "Yeah." So I jumped to some conclusions. Do you ever do that about somebody? First impressions? What are the kinds of impressions you'd form in your mind without anything other than her name, Beth? Well, I'm thinking, She's on this bus, doesn't have a lot of money, maybe has multiple kids, who knows, low income. I happen to have with me in my backpack the 4th or 5th version of the Query manuscript, because by this time trying to fine-tune it to get it to a publisher took a lot of time. So anytime I could stop and spend some time going through it again, I did, and I had placed it on the table, and she saw it. She asked me what it was, and so I was explaining to her this thing about the Query, and we began to have a conversation. She's Baptist. Her husband was a Baptist preacher, and he was in South Carolina with family. They weren't able to have kids. They still were hoping to have kids, but it didn't look like that was going to be part of their future. She had her master's degree in nuclear engineering from Duke University. And was headed home because she had to get home to Knoxville, to Oak Ridge actually, for her job at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Oh my gosh, and then we began to have the most wonderful conversation about nuclear energy and rocket launches. Oh, boy, did I miss the boat. Don't we do that? In my experience with the Query, I read that book a few times. Boy, the guy that wrote that, he writes some wonderful stuff. One of the things he wrote that I stumbled across, he said this: in this journey of engaging with people and listening, exploring faith had become an essential piece in the understanding of the other. Exploring faith had become an essential piece in gaining the understanding of the other. The you that someone knows. When you're not in the God box on Sunday morning, how many people know your journey in this faith? How many people know that by virtue of your being here today, the one thing we know about you and about me and about each other is that we are each Christ followers. We're somewhere on this journey of trying to learn more and more about this Christ person, this Christ God that we have come to know. Would you agree? But on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, do others know that about you or me? How important this Christ-following piece is in who and what I am. My experience with the Query and my own personal experience is probably not. Probably not. I'm a cradle Lutheran. Talk about my faith outside of the God box? Oh. Have any of you raised like that? Are you that way? Yeah, well. When Zechariah lifted John up, his baby John, and praised God, one of the things he said, at the very end, he said, he was beginning to speak about John's purpose in coming. Something greater was coming, and he said, in the tender compassion of our God, the dawn from on high shall break upon us to shine on those who dwell in darkness and the shadow of death, and to guide our feet into the way of peace. To guide our feet into the way of peace. A peace that passes all understanding, as Paul would say. This Jesus, this Christ follower, the Christ that we follow, granting us peace. In the letter that Peter wrote, 1 Peter, Peter talks about this faith that we embrace as Christ followers. I want to just lift up a little bit about what he has to say in his first letter. He says, praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In his great mercy, he has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. Set your hope fully on the grace to be given you when Christ Jesus is revealed in you. Through him you believe in God, who raised him from the dead and glorified him, and so your faith and hope are in God. As you come to him, this living stone, you also, like living stones, are being built into a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood. For you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are the people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Peter goes on to talk about how living into this reality of Jesus changes us inside. And he describes this inner self as the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. The dawn from on high, guiding our feet into the way of peace. An unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. As we walk this journey and come closer and closer to a deeper understanding of this Jesus, of this God, the peace that passes all understanding, Paul says, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. Folks, in this world, those who see us but don't know us, many are searching for this peace that passes all understanding. They're searching for this inner self with a gentle and quiet spirit. And probably they're seeing just a little bit of that in you. I would bet that most of us here, somewhere in our journey in coming to know more deeply this God thing, this Jesus mystery, we began to feel a little bit of an inner peace. Would you agree? Is that part of this journey? On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, how many people do you encounter who are seeking some kind of peace? The world's tough, isn't it? How can you get through this world without that? How are they going to know me unless somehow I let them know about that? I don't mean beat them over the head, but how are they going to come to know that? Well, purely by God's doing, not mine, this whole journey of the query, the simple question, what's the reason for the hope that's within you, as a door opener for conversation has been a tremendous gift. Anybody can ask that question, can you not? What's the reason for the hope within you? As you begin to get to know somebody, you get to know about their kids, and their family, and their work, and their car, and their sports teams, and like all that stuff. And then the conversation begins to shift. What's the reason for the hope within you? Not telling them what the hope is, just what's the reason here? And listening, and then just listening. Here's what I have come to understand too late in my life, and it comes from that verse from Timothy, 2 Timothy. This young Timothy that Paul was grooming to be his protege, this young Timothy who had been schooled in the faith, this Timothy that you and I would think knows everything about the faith because he's been schooled by Paul. What does Paul have to do? Paul has to become an encourager to Timothy. And he says to Timothy, fan into flame, rekindle, in the version we read. Fan into flame this gift of God that is within you. You've been given a spirit not of timidity, not of cowardice, but a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline. Folks, I'm convinced, I've become convinced in this journey, so many people in my Monday through Saturday lives outside the God box are yearning to tell their story. They're yearning for their story to be heard. And as that story is heard and faith becomes a part of that story as it's broached gently and with respect, we are given the opportunity to share how this faith has begun to shape me and the peace that comes with that, this gentle and inner strength of this inner spirit. I think that's part of what we're called to be about, to have these conversations, to listen gently, and to share the inner peace that we know. We pray with me. Spirit of God, Spirit of power, breathe on me, that in my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday through Saturday life, you will become known through me in ways, Lord, that you will lead me to, and that I'll have the courage to step through it when it comes. In your holy name, amen.
Thank you so much, Larry. Thank you. The peace of the Lord be with you always. I invite you to share that peace with those who are near you.